Hello everybody, hope you're having a great day so far. 6 months ago, we took on the challenge of trying to survive 7 days in Project Zomboid's biggest mall. However, we were only able to survive 10 hours after multiple attempts. Half a year later, I figure it's time for some redemption. Except this time, we're not just gonna go for 7 days. Nope, this time we're gonna be trying to survive 14 days in the mall. For those of you who might be interested in watching the original video, the link is in the description below. But I'm not going to delay any further, let's just jump right into it. Thank you guys for watching, let's do this. Now 6 months have gone by since our first attempt at this challenge. I've learned quite a bit since then. I'm better at the combat and know a little bit more about how the zomboids work, but that doesn't mean I know everything, and I'm sure as you guys know, things can go south in Project Zomboid really quickly. So our first attempt, I mainly just got a little warmed up with the combat, started luring zombies one by one into our safe area, so to speak, and just started stomping them out. Now the lure and stomp method, so to speak, went on for quite a while until eventually we worked our way into the first few rooms, while occasionally having to fall back to our outside safe area to thin the numbers when things got a little too risky. This first run was going a little rough. We still hadn't found a weapon, and as you just saw, we took some damage. Whether we got a bite or not, there's still the risk of getting the infection, which would cut our 14-day run pretty short. Luckily, it was just a laceration, so there's only a 25% chance that we turn into a zombie. Let's hope that doesn't happen. Now, as soon as we dodged one bullet, we fell right into another problem. Pun intended, I suppose. Yep, I was messing around, not paying attention, and I didn't realize there wasn't a rail there, and we fell and fractured our character's foot. Just another problem to add to our list of troubles. We're going to need to craft a splint, which would be hard to do considering there's not really any wood inside of a mall. There was a zomboid earlier that we took out that had a crutch as an accessory, so I put that on. I'm not sure if it actually helped or not, but at least it kind of fit with the situation we were going through. Now I'm just slowly thinning the herd as best I can, while occasionally going back to our safe room to clean bandages, drink water, and sleep. Now, we had taken out quite a bit of zomboids, but things were looking pretty rough for us. I wasn't sure how much longer we would be able to stay alive, and with our fractured foot, it was hard to get away from zomboids when they started grouping up on us. Eventually, I would bite off more than I could chew, and the rest is history. I'm sure it's obvious to you guys, it was obvious to me as well. We weren't going to make it out of this. I was in a room with no way out, so I grabbed my pistol that we looted from a zomboid earlier and decided to go out with a bang. We were able to do quite a bit of numbers on the zomboids overall this run, but with our broken foot, I knew the chances of actually surviving 14 days were pretty slim. And just like that, our first run was over. However, we did survive 2 days in 13 hours, which is significantly better than our best the first time we tried this challenge. So we're already off to a pretty good start. For our second run, I had the same basic plan, just lured the zomboids out by little groups and stomp them out, while also avoiding breaking our foot this time. Eventually, I would clear our way into the first couple rooms again, and we would start gathering some supplies. I found myself a backpack, an axe, and some clothes that had some decent protection, but nothing too crazy. On top of all that, The tool room was also unlocked. However, we had taken some damage, and based on the moodles we had going on, there was a chance we had caught the virus. However, I was running the smoker trait, so there was a chance that our dude was just fiending for a smoke. Here's hoping that it's not the Zomboid virus. A few in-game hours later, we were still working on taking out the horde. However, it was clear we were infected. So I thought, instead of prolonging this run, I would just go scout out the gun store. We never got to our first try doing this challenge, so I didn't quite know what to expect when we got down there. Clearly, we couldn't even get inside of it. So getting to the gun store was going to be a challenge. Our second run ended 1 day in, 13 hours, and 98 zombies killed. On to our next try. As usual, I did our basic method when we start out, luring a few zombies at a time and just stomping their heads in. It's a good way to get some basic starting clothes. It's nothing too crazy, but any protection is better than what we start with. Within the first couple of hours of this attempt, I had already gotten ourselves a backpack, a few lead pipes, and that's when this happened. We were blessed by the RNG gods. So then, after the most intense, thrilling life or death battle that I've ever had, his armor was ours. Getting our hands on this bomb suit was kind of a run changer. It gave us 100% protection. However, there was a downside. It would drastically slow our attack speed. So yeah, we had defense against bites and scratches for now, but with every bit of damage we took, that protection would drop. And with how slow our movement and attack speed is, just 2 or 3 zomboids would be enough to grab us and drag us down, which would mean an instant death regardless. So we still had to play smart. After seeing how many zomboids were down on the ground floor our previous run, I knew it was going to take a while to actually do some damage to the overall horde. So I knew this was going to be a bit of a grind of just sleeping, luring zomboids, and taking them out as carefully as we can, and grabbing whatever loot we can get from them on the way. Now, if you can't tell already by the amount of zomboids piled up in this hallway, we were here for a while, and we were gonna be here for a while longer. I started noticing zomboids were coming up from the ground floor and just kind of wandering up here. I had a feeling it wasn't because of me, because they weren't coming our way, and that's when I realized there were a bunch of radios in this other room with really loud volume. Our next mission was to move in, clear out this room, and turn off those radios. Now that the radios are turned off, we just gotta finish clearing this area, and we can go back to our daily task of clearing this hallway. So right here was our first close call. Luckily, only one zomboid managed to grab us at a time. If it was any more than that, there was a good chance we would have wound up dead right there. So I fled back to our safe area, where I could lure them out 1 or 2 at a time, and work our way back to our hallway. Now that our safe area is clear, I can grab a bite to eat and go back to killing. We were going to have to face our first problem here soon, and that is our food supply. We managed to get some beef jerky off a couple of these zomboids while clearing this hallway, and one of these rooms had a refrigerator with some yogurt, but that wasn't going to last us much longer, so I was going to have to find a place for some food, and almost definitely fight our way to it. At this point in time, our character was starting to feel queasy. I wasn't too worried that it was the Zomboid virus, because we had just been sleeping in this room surrounded by bodies for a few days now. Our character didn't have any anxiety or pain, so I was pretty confident it was just because of the bodies. So we were going to have to find a new safe area to sleep in here soon. I figured this area would work for now. It had a water dispenser and it seemed quiet. We would mainly just use this room for sleeping, eating, and cleaning our bandages and whatnot. But for now, we're just going to take things easy and wait and see if our sickness trait goes away after a while. Otherwise, this run might be over. Luckily for us, a few in-game hours later, and our sickness was gone. With that taken care of, we can go back to our little corner over here and get back to doing what we do best, stomping on Zomboid's heads. Now, according to my map, the closest store with some food in it would be this bakery right up here to the right. The problem is, we're 5 days in, so there's a chance some of this food is rotten, but our best bet is just to clear it out and see what there is. If there's no food, we'll have to find it somewhere else. But that'll be a task for another time. Our character's a little tired, so I'm just going to lure some zombies out by running, fall back to our little safe area so that we can get some sleep. But I'm just going to take these few zomboids out before we do that. Right now, we're just a couple hours away from being on day 6. 1 day away from completing the challenge we first tried doing 6 months ago. However, for us, it's only the halfway point. We still have 7 days to go until we've survived 14 days in this mall. Let's keep it going. During day 6, I decided it was time to check the bakery. There weren't as many zomboids as there were last time we checked it out, and this time we were able to actually move in and see what type of food we were working with. As expected, there were some items that were salvageable, but most of it was rotten. We were going to have to find some food somewhere else. This would last us at least a day, but not much longer than that, especially with the non-stop fighting we've been doing. I decided to go back to the bakery to double check and see if there was anything we missed. I didn't check the back area when we were first here, so here's hoping that maybe they have some more food storage in the back. After searching the rest of the bakery, the only thing we got was some sugar, so I decided to go down this back hallway and keep scouting and kind of see what's up ahead. We've never been in this area, so this is kind of uncharted territory for us, so we're going to have to be extra careful here. Now that we got those out of the way, it was time to see what's in this room. After gathering what little we could from here, I figured it was time to head back to our safe area and plan out where we're going to go from here. We still need some more food. After our character enjoyed a smoke and had a little bite to eat, it was time for a nap. And upon awaking, it would be our 7th day. That means we have officially survived 7 days in the mall. We beat our original challenge that we set out trying to do 6 months ago on our 3rd attempt of our 2nd time trying this challenge. But now it's time to complete our new challenge, 14 days, which means we have 1 week left to survive in here. If we're going to make it that long, we need to gather some more food quickly and possibly some firearms in case things get dicey. So we have 2 goals right now. Find a decent stockpile of food, and find some weapons. At this moment, I'm just dealing with some stragglers that were around our safe area, and then I'm gonna let our character rest and eat some food for a bit, and then we're gonna go out looking for some food. We have enough to last us about the rest of the day, but after that, we're gonna be down to nothing, and our energy is gonna start falling quickly. If that happens, our character is gonna be even slower when it comes to fighting the zomboids, and they're gonna be able to overpower us and drag us down even easier. So we need food quick. I noticed on the other side of the upper floor we're currently on, it looked like there was some sort of food mart over on the left side there. I decided we're gonna head towards that and hope that it's not perishable food that's rotten and useless for us. And looks like we hit the jackpot. From what I've seen so far, there's at least a few bits of jerky and meat sticks, and that'll last us a couple days at least, and that's all we need right now. And that was just from one container. We were gonna have to loot quickly though. We're drawing attention, and we haven't cleared much of this side of the mall, so there's a good chance we can get a horde on us really quick. At this point, I was starting to realize we're gonna get overran quickly. I just wanted to grab a little bit more and run back for our safe zone, but not risk losing our life. We're on a good run right now, and I'd hate to have to restart. Alright, it's time for us to get out of here. There's too many zomboids. We have a little bit of food on us. Hopefully some of them will follow us along and kind of lose their way on the way back to the safe zone, and then we can work our way back here and slowly thin the numbers out. Feels good to be back in our home turf, so to speak. Now that we're back to our safe area, we can rest up, eat and drink a little bit, and head back out on another loot run. On our way back to the food store, I ran into the zomboids that were following us earlier and tried my best to kind of thin the numbers a little bit, but we eventually had to fall back to our safe room and rely on the old lure and stop method. Another group down, time to move back in. I was able to get back to the food store fairly quickly, so from here it was just a matter of clearing it out and hoping that more don't show up, and then from there we could loot the rest of the store. I then spent the next few minutes just looting the store and taking out what few zomboids came in. It was fairly manageable, and we got a lot of food. Enough to last us until the 14-day mark at least. Now that we looted the food store, we just gotta get back to base, drop off our food in our mini fridge, and then we can start working our way towards the gun store or the hardware store, depending on whether it's locked or not. After gathering ourselves for a moment, we headed back out. I had a new melee weapon that we looted off one of the zomboids, and I was able to repair this with a box of nails that I had for a while, and if it always gets too broken, I can fall back to the crowbar we were using for most of the run. After resting in our safe area for a while, I decided to head back out and see what else we can find. But before moving on to the next store, I decided to grab what few pieces of food I didn't grab earlier, and then we headed back out. Overall, the store just had a bunch of junk, so I decided to keep it moving and see what was waiting on the other side. We haven't been on this side of the mall at all, so we gotta be extra careful here. We don't really know what we're working with, but we are getting closer to the hardware store. That there is the hardware store. Decent number of zomboids, nothing we couldn't handle. We just gotta take our time and take them out in small numbers. If we end up drawing in too many, we got more than enough space to fall back to our safe area. After clearing some more zomboids, I decided it was a good time to find a place to rest. Our character was getting a little tired, but I felt like we could find a safe area around here instead of going all the way back to our safe zone across the mall. And that's when I found this closet. No zomboids and a chair for us to sleep in. Nice and cozy. As cozy as a wooden chair is, our character was only able to sleep for a little bit and was still tired, so I decided to make our way back to our original safe area and hope he can get some sleep there. Upon making it back to our safe area, we were able to rest up a little bit and get some more water. We're about halfway through the 11th day, so we still got just a couple more days left, and then our challenge is over. But before then, we gotta get to the gun store. Still a chance we can get overran by a horde, and I'd feel a lot more comfortable having some firearms on us. So for now, it was back to thinning the numbers. We had a good method going on, and plenty of safe room to work with, so I figured it would be alright as long as we kept it safe. This goes on for quite some time, until eventually I decided to make an attempt for the gun store. If it's unlocked, we can skip the hardware store altogether and go straight for the guns. Once I got to the staircase though, I realized there was a lot more zomboids on the other side of the mall that we haven't cleared, and there was a good chance they could swarm us while we're moving down and pin us in against the horde on the ground floor. That meant we were going to have to clear even more zomboids before we could move down there. I tried clearing some, and while I was repairing my baseball bat, I realized we attracted the main horde and decided we had to get out of there. We can just fall back to our safe area and slowly work our way back, just like we've been doing this whole run. It's worked this far, let's hope it keeps on working. After a few more in-game hours of fighting, it was time to get some rest. We just had to clear the zomboids around our safe area, and then we can go to sleep. We spent the entire next day clearing a bit more zomboids before we make our attempt going for the gun store, because tomorrow, we're going for the guns. Now that we're on to the next day, it's time to head to the gun store. My plan was just to lure the ones on the stairs away, take them out, and then head down to the store next to the gun store, and we can make our way to the back hallway and go from there. So it was actually a lot easier to get down here than I expected. I think it's because the helicopter event happened a day or two ago, and maybe that lured a decent number of them away, or at least to a different part of the mall. But for right now, it wasn't looking too bad. There were a few zomboids I had to take out in the hallway, but nothing we couldn't handle. Now it's time to check out the door to the gun store. If we're lucky, this door is unlocked. And just like that, we're in. Either it was unlocked from the jump, or one of the many keys we've collected during our 13 days here was the gun store key. Either way, we were able to get in, the front was still gated off so that it wasn't full of zomboids, and all the guns were ours. Time to load up and get ready for a grand finale. Now that we've finished clearing the gun store, we can finally load up with some firearms. We would get a machine gun, a shotgun, and plenty of ammo. Now we just gotta survive for one more day, and then our challenge is over. Getting out of the mall alive at that point is more of an optional objective, but with the amount of firearms we have, it shouldn't be a problem. Now that we've looted the gun store, it's time to head back to our safe house and go to sleep and wake up into day 14 with our challenge completed. A few hours later, and we were officially on day 14 as we walked past the remnants of our hard work, proof of our existence, proof that we've survived 14 days in this mall alone with nothing but our wits and what we've been able to gather around us. But now, it's time. What better way to go out than with a bang? I had a bone to pick with these zomboids, as they've been harassing me for 14 days in this mall, and I wasn't getting out of here without doing some damage to their numbers. We still had plenty of shells and plenty of zomboids coming towards us. We slowly worked our way back towards our former safe zone as we took down as many of the horde as we could. Now this fight against the main horde went on for quite some time, but we slowly started making our way towards the entrance so we could make our escape. With most of the horde taken down with my shotgun and the rest of the stragglers still looking for me back where my last gunshot was, we were good to make our escape. I didn't have a plan at this point, and I wasn't quite sure what to do since we've completed the challenge, but I figured one of the keys we had on us had to be for one of these cars. So I ended up looking around for a long while until we found a working one, and luckily enough, the key for it was in the car. ended up driving south from the city for a long time, until eventually we ran out of gas, and then from there, we just kind of wandered further south. We beat our challenge, and I kind of figured we would succumb to thirst or hunger. We ended up finding this house that seemed untouched by the outbreak completely. Here we'll be able to survive possibly indefinitely. We couldn't have asked for a better ending for our character. Well, with that being said, guys, by the time I finished working on this video, it had been 7 months since we attempted this challenge originally and only made it 10 hours. But now, we tried it again with even more difficult odds and came out on top. We survived 14 days, 15 in total if you count making it to the house, and we took out a good majority of the horde. I appreciate you guys for watching, especially if you made it this far. I know this video was a little longer, but I appreciate you being here. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and subscribe for more. I go live every weekend with Project Zomboid and other games as well. Also, feel free to leave a comment on how I can improve my videos. I would also appreciate any suggestions on any challenges you might like to see me take on. I'm more than happy to take on any of your guys' challenges. Once again, thank you guys for watching. Have a great day.